G'day you lot, I'm Kermie from Big Rigs and I'm sitting up here at Alice Springs at the National Transport Hall of Fame and I'm about to have a chat with, some consider him an icon of the Northern Territory. Well, maybe he does anyway. I'd like to introduce you good people to Lizard. Righto, welcome mate.
Thanks mate.
It's Big Rigs TV.
You're Kermit. You're Kermit.
I'm Kermie, yeah.
Well,
I've got a frog in my throat at the moment, I'm losing it.
Yeah, you sound like a frog. I read you all the time in there.
Oh, do you?
I didn't recognise you.
Now, are you giving me a compliment there?
Yeah,
or
mate.
You're going to bag me?
Yeah, a little bit of one. Yeah. Don't get carried away, though.
No.
Yeah.
I get enough knocks, mate, to not be big-headed about it.
I read that thing all the time.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like it. Mate, Lizard. I gather everyone calls you a lizard except your mum.
Yeah, Mum's dead, but she knew it, but she still called me Peter. You know,
So Peter who?
Peter Williams.
Okay. Now, you're a Northern Territory born and bred man?
No, I was born in St Kilda.
Oh, okay.
But,
City boy.
I moved to... I started driving on the Hume in 65.
Who was that with?
It was a car carrier mob driving, and it was an Austin. It was a comma.
What, the knocker?
Yeah, knocker.
Yeah.
And it was a knocker that towed a dog, but it didn't tow a dog with a drawbar. It was just a ball coupling thing. And it had a pipe frame on it. So you loaded 6 cars. Mm-hmm. And then when you got to Sydney, there wasn't a lot of cars going back. So you could... take the pipe frame down with 2 shifters. It was just like scaffolding.
Yep.
Exactly the same as scaffolding, and you went and looked for a load of freight. And yeah, we got freight. Out of Brisbane, you get spuds. They were funny looking tarps because they were really only car carriers. But it was a good job. I think it was Peter Arnold, I think, and a bloke called Greens, and then they were actually called later on, I think, or Green and McClandish. But yeah, I did that. And then I drove for a couple of blokes in dew burners, Marsdens.
That's your term for Mercedes-Benz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marsdens, Harry Powell, they had them too, Harry Powell, Barney Kerr, and another mob. I forget their names. But
what are they, 1418s were they?
All 1418s, all single drive.
Good truck?
You talk to people that had Kenworths or went over to other things, they said the 1418, I know for a fact that the 1418 set up a lot of operators. Mm-hmm. That went on to Atkinson's and stuff. They were indestructible.
Okay.
They just come in after the petrol 90. I never drove a 90 because there was only 2 left at Marsden's. And I had no wish to drive a petrol motor because I wasn't a mechanic, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, 2 blokes. I think one was Zeke and another bloke was Billy Varland. But they soon went into Benzes then anyway, you know. And they were just a magic truck, mate. You didn't want to be seen in them. It was like driving a Louis, but they did the job.
Yeah.
They were magic.
What were you hauling back then? Cars were you?
No, this is at another job. With Marsden's, we hauled Austral cable up and just general back, anything, load of snot, but it got us back. I can't remember the freight we used to cart back, but it was a lot of Austral cable going up, Leggett's rubber, lot.
And where were you travelling from and to back in those days?
The Sydney was a haulage terminal with its own little roadhouse, Sydney back to Melbourne, back to Elfs, Marsden's depot, and then we'd deliver it, on a little, I think it was an AB 150, a little Inter. They're classics now, but they were just the trucks we drove. I think they had 6-cylinder in them,
yes.
6-cylinder Inter.
Yeah.
They were fantastic.
Steering wheel sitting on your chest.
Yeah, and, Armstrong steering and that, but they were fantastic. But he'd if you've been there a while and you're loaded just round the corner with Austral cable, which those big, the big wooden, it was cable inside, but they were actually they were tacked together by wood.
Mm-hmm.
The big round ones like this, and you put a chain through the middle, but they were only 4 foot, so you get 2 on the back.
Okay.
Chain it, and then you could put other ones, and then taper down to littly, so you had your weight.
Okay.
It looked like that.
Yep.
And if you'd been there a while, that's all you went with. It was just a load of cream. It was just cream. But if you were new, he would make you top up back of the yard with Leggett's rubber. And you had to put gates on around it, and he would just throw in this lightweight stuff. It was from Leggett's rubber, I know. They were rubber rings in bags about that big.
Mm-hmm. So
he'd ruin that load. You had to go to the depot first then to get them off, and then go and do your cable. But, yeah, he's a good bloke. Alf Mars, yeah.
And where'd you go after that?
I went to Taylor Dalton. Then I went to Harry Powell. Harry Powell. Went to Harry Powell, and then I went to Barney Kerr's, and they gave me a brand new 1418. It was just before the road commanders were there then with the 250 Cummings, but I hadn't been there long enough. I think they got 6, and then they got about another 4. They were just the duck's guts, but I didn't drive one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went, I went to Eastos, and they were an iconic company.
Yes, yeah.
That was as good as anything. I think you thought you'd made it to the top. They had 250 Cumminses in cab-overs, and I do remember once when it broke down, the Kenworth was off the road, which is very unusual for Eastos, but they let me drive, or made me drive, a 250 Peterbilt with twin sticks. I think it was a 14-spade Spicer. And being a cab over, all the cables were stretched.
Yes,
and they weren't as tight, so you didn't know what you were in. You think, I hope I'm in, and when you let the clutch out, you're either in or out.
Yeah.
And both sticks were like stirring a bowl of porridge. They really were. But it was still wonderful. It was a Peterbilt, It was a Peterbilt. I probably took 4,000 photos, but I don't know. I probably only got about 2 left. And then a mate of mine, Billy Varland, he drove for Ansats. He said, come over here, this is not bad. And I was a little bit tired from driving for Eastos, so I went to Ansats. On the changeovers, we did a changeover at Nil. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether we changed prime movers. I think we just got in the other truck. I don't think we ever wound the legs down.
Okay.
And then we went to Forbes, and we had a 10-hour break in a lady's house. Someone, when you're in, you rang them, and she was a lovely lady, and she was out all day, so you could make yourself a feed.
It was better than sleeping in the back of the truck.
Yeah, well, they didn't have sleepers.
No,
see?
Well, across the seats.
Yeah, well, no, I might have, well, that's right, they had slim lines, that's right, but another bloke got in it and went to Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
And then you woke up nice and fresh, you could make yourself a sandwich in the house, and got into another Ansett slim line. And the other one was Yass. They had to shuttle. We went to Yass and stayed at the Australia Hotel. And then while we stayed at the Australia Hotel, excuse me, they had us booked about 4 to a room, because the rooms had heated carpet. So I think two, I don't know, 1 or 2 would sleep on the bed, or just one. If another bloke was cold, he could just drag a couple of blankets and sleep on the carpet, and it wasn't cold.
Okay.
It was fantastic. We had a bloke that used to leave $5. He was a gambler. The same mate of mine. He was such a gambler, because I don't gamble. The one-armed bandits.
I do remember them. Yeah, I'm old enough.
Yeah, well, he used to drop $5 in at Tumbalong, which used to be another changeover station, just before South Gundy. He'd drop $5 off at Tumbalong, and then when he went up and went to the Australian Hotel and gambled it all, he had $5 at Tumbalong to get bacon and eggs, which was enough to get you home. And, you know, he remembers it too.
He didn't mind losing it as long
no,
as
he didn't care.
left.
No, he didn't care if he lost a lot, but he knew he had $5 with Celia.
Yeah, forward thinking.
Yeah, that's magic. I used to go to bed. But these blokes would come in about 3 or 4 hours later and wake you up, you know. There were some wonderful old blokes back then, but I got the sack. I hit a cow around about tabletop, and I thought I've got to report this. It was on the Hume. I don't know what I'd done to it. I think it was in the scrub. I couldn't even find it, so I drove through Albury and went to the Wodonga cop shop. They said, you got to go back to Albury and repeat that. We got nothing to do with it. So I went back, because I'd already let them know. I went back, and then you're only supposed to drive at 1900 in those GMs. I just belted it back to Footscray Road, and they looked at the tachograph. I thought I was helping them by getting in the same, back them into the docks, and then you went home.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I backed it into the dock, I think, and then I didn't snatch it. They speared me because I went over the speed limit.
Right.
You know, they also used, if you were seen with a beard, Suzanne says, if you were seen with a beard, because we used to go out at night, if a member of the public or a shareholder saw you with a beard, you spent a week on the dock.
Is that right?
Yes. And if they provided uniforms with Kenworth stick pins and little Cummins badges, tiny ones. And they like you to wear them. Now, some blokes just lost them, it didn't matter. But if you were seen on the Brisbane, anywhere, on the Forbes run, say, when it's hot, with your shirt off and a blue singlet underneath, you got a week on the dock.
Okay.
That's fair income.
They're pretty strict.
Yeah, they were.
Reg liked his people to look smart.
Yes.
Representing the company, I
Well,
guess.
it's right. And what about Quickers Air? They all had ties with a Quickers Air stick pin through, and it was a purple tie with Quickers Air pin, and they were encouraged to wear them. They were professionals. They had uniforms before. Well, Eastos had uniforms, but no one else before them ever had uniforms.
No.
It wasn't because they couldn't afford them. No one wore them. But they wanted you to have AFE and the circle on there. Mate, I haven't got a shirt, but I've still got one of the sew-on patches.
Okay.
You know?
A little bit of history there.
It is, yeah.
So the other night you were talking about the legend of the Northern Territory, and that was Bunteen.
Yes. Buntine.
I should say.
Yep. Well,
how did you get the job with Noel?
I went to another company. Then I drove for Lynn Fox on the Transtars. At the stage they were just taking over Camerons in Bayswater. I think I was offered at Kenworth with a 318-903 in it, and I said, no, I want to stay in this Transtar. It didn't look real flash in Foxy's colours, but it had a 335 turbo in it. Would leave those Kenworths for dead. So I stayed in that. Mate, yeah, they got their money's worth out of you. Then I went to John Nash. John Nash started up with 2 brand new Louisvilles, carton glass. Oh, hang on, I left out Bolshies too. I used to cart glass for Bolshies in a V6 Atkinson.
You've worked for a few.
I worked for everyone in the pink pages in Victoria. And, anyway, I knew what the glass was like, carting it's top heavy, but it's not, sort of, if you drive properly. And I was with Bolshi, I think, and then I snatched that. And The manager of John Nash's rang me and said, "What about driving a new Louisville for us? We've got a lot of glass now ourselves." So they got a lot of glass through Pilkington too.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to them in a brand new Louisville with no sleeper. It didn't matter them days. You could have 2 logbooks. And I left Nash's. Just left, no worries. On my own accord for once. And I went to. I saw a photo of Noel Bundine in a Post magazine, standing beside an R model Mac. It was called The Call of the Wild, and it hit something in me.
Struck a chord.
It struck a chord. I was sick of the Hume. So we took it, my wife and I and our little kid, took a year off. And they wouldn't give me a job. They said, you've had no experience with cows. But we've got a job coming up at Ranger Uranium Mine. They're opening a mine at Jabiru, and we're put in for a job carting lime.
About what year would this be?
78.
Okay.
And so I kept going up to Darwin, and we stayed in we had a 12-foot caravan. We stayed in the Overlander Caravan Park, which is sort of opposite Truck City now. And, there's a WOW store there now, but in those days it was a caravan park.
Uh-huh.
I got a job with K&T, pulling doubles to Ellis. They hauled Ridgeways mainly, and motor cars. I drove a Benz. It wasn't a 1418 though. It was a bit more powerful, and we pulled 2 trailers. And then a bloke offered me a job driving it was an R model with a cool power in it, travelling from Darwin to Brisbane. And I loved that. I couldn't believe when I got there that I was parked at 3 ways in an R model Mac driving doubles down to Brisbane. Everyone knows about the 3 ways at Tennant Creek. I couldn't believe I was there.
Thought you were made in the shade, did you, mate?
I thought...
Reached the pinnacle?
I've kicked
Kicked a big goal.
Yeah. Kicked a big goal. I did that for Barry for a while. And then a bloke called Glenn Forbes sent a telegram to the house we had. And my wife's brother rang me and said, there's a Glenn Forbes, I want you to ring him, about accommodation in Alice because the depot was full. So I rang him back and he said, yeah, they're stuffing us around a little bit, in the production of everything they wanted, but it's going to kick off. So, but meanwhile, my first wife had gone. She said, this is too hot. And I said, yeah, no worries, see you later, And so he said, we got single mans. So I drove down there, drove back to Alice, left Barry Bales on my own terms, actually, and started on the lime. I stayed in the single man's quarters. To see it, you wouldn't believe it. When I walked in there was a bloke asleep, just in a pair of jocks.
Yeah.
Called Rags. And he just had a pair of jocks, and I thought, geez, what's this, And, but anyway, they said, there's your room there. It had a little strip heater on it. Tiny room. Mm-hmm. I thought, I'm driving for Bundine. That's it, that'll do me. I can die now, And then we did the lime. They went down and introduced me. The bloke at the time was doing wheel bearings, a bloke by the name of Bully Ashwood, and he said, come down, I'll show you how we do it the next day. And this is the bloke you'll be off-siding. Well, I looked at the bloke, he's here now too today, and I thought, I was about 30, middle 30s, I thought, this bloke's got to be in his 50s. Well, he was younger than me, but he'd done a bit for Bundine so he had a few creases, you know.
The desert can age you.
Yes, and he said, this is Muscle. I didn't have the name. Then he said, Peter, this is Muscles. And I thought, oh.
Oh, I saw Muscles the other day.
Did you? Good.
I did, yeah.
He is an absolute mate. Anyway, he put us in a Mac. First night, I'd pull 3 trailers. I said to Musso, you better drive first. He didn't care.
This is the first time you've pulled
first
a train.
Trip, first trip. 3 line boxes, 3 20-foot line boxes loaded on 40-foot trailers, sitting in the middle. There was no such things as container pins, but the scalies let us get away with a thing they call a hook bolt. You put them into the hole and turn them, and then you just put it down through your tie rail, tighten it up with a big washer.
Yep.
And I've still got the photo of the first time. I was proud as punch. I'm near the Devil's Marbles. I got a blue singlet on, and Muscles has taken a photo of me. It's in an F model Mac cab over. I'm not sure if the aircon worked. Anyway, don't matter. And then we got the Jabiru, and they were trying to quicken the times up. You know, they'd been doing it for a while. I actually didn't start. When I started, they already had a few drivers. But I had the Donga because I was a single man, and they had caravans. And then, we did that for a while. You were supposed to do it as soon as you got there. As soon as you unloaded, which was a forklift lifting 3 trailers off you, 3 boxes, they put 6 empty ones. Or if they didn't have any empty, they'd say, see you later. Righto. You didn't have to do anything but throw the bloody 12 hook bolts in the toolbox. So, and you needed a shifter, that's all. So we just go back, but Muscles, he'd drive a bit, I'd drive a bit. We had no changeover points, just when he was tired, he'd tap me, and when I was tired, I'd tap him.
That works.
It does work, and we were good mates, and we stayed good mates. I didn't know how I was going to go, though, because he smoked and drank 4X stubbies, and I don't think he'd done a lot of sleeping.
Well, you were a Carlton draft man, were you?
Oh, but he'd just drink them. We didn't have. We had an Engel fridge. It sat on the cover, the engine cover, and mate, I'd say, you right? He'd say, yeah, I'll have another can, and then drive. And there was no worries. We're pretty well known for that, I think, at that stage.
I think everybody was.
I didn't know. They're just, have a charge, and so. And a couple of times we were supposed to be a 52-hour turnaround. Well, I think we did it in 52 about once. And they said, come on, you blokes, you got a bit, yeah. All we were doing was driving, stopping and having a shower on our way out near the guard keeper's hut, because he had to you've been on a uranium mine, they'd actually see you coming. You couldn't just drive in. They had to get your paperwork off you. It's a brand new joint.
Yep.
Anyway, we continued for a while, and then they said, this is not working, because someone saw us in a parking bay, and we're both sitting in the chair. Oh, I'm sitting in the chair, and Muscles are sitting in the passenger seat. They're dead to the world. The sun's coming in on us. Of course, people can see you in a cab over. So they said, well, it's not really working. So they gave me a truck, number 13, called the Power and the Glory. And because my 9 had big names on the side of the vehicle, on the bonnets, most. Anyway, Power and the Glory, and it had a KT 450 in it. Well, it just was wonderful.
It sang, did it?
It sang, and Muscles like Max, so I think he got an R model. He loved Max. I do now, but I didn't at the time. I'd never driven a Mac. And then then I don't think they ever put us 2 up again. It was a bit of a joke, And so we stayed there. He had his missus. He had a missus and 3 children. They lived in a beautiful house. And I'd met a girl then. I was living in Carmichael Caravan Park. And it was still a wonderful job. Sometimes you could do it yourself in 52 hours return. No worries. But I think the both of us were. I used to sometimes tap me foot. We get to have tea at Dunmara. There'd be John Bain and Billy Baskett and bloody Flanagan and Partington and all these blokes, all that have become reasonably big names there now. They were just one owner operators in road bosses. We get on the piss with Muscles like a cold drink on a hot day. And we're sitting at Dunmara, and I'd had a clout, and in about 3/4 of an hour I started clicking a bit, and he's there having stubby after stubby. I said, come on mate, we've got to get going. We've got to get going. We're going up. So I felt like I wanted to get there. I actually thought of leaving him and going up the Jabberoo, and he would have been still standing in the same place. Mm-hmm. But he wasn't. We got going. He'd had about 12, so he just went to bed. I'd had about 3. It was the best time. That Dunmara was the best place on the road in those days. Then we got the Jabberoo and we got back, and they knew that was the end of it, and they said, well, we've got another truck now, so you blokes go into, I think Muscles got into the F model and I got into a W model. And kept going, and then they had to renew the contract, and they didn't get it. I don't know why. There was nothing wrong with the service, but I don't know why. And another bloke took us over for a while, a bloke called Dalziel.
Right.
And we kept driving for him, but not our same trucks. I had a white W model. I was 2 up. I can't remember who it was, but malfunction, I think. And so we drove for them, and then Bundy had an auction, and I thought, I've got to get out of the single quarters. But no, he didn't. The auction went. He got rid of a lot of stuff. It was very sad. And then we started driving these W models. And,
is this when Noel was selling up?
Yes.
Selling the business?
Yes. He sold it to a bloke called, I think it was Rolly Dalziel. Anyway, I've got photos of me carrying 44-gallon drums on the front trailer, because you had 10-foot of space, because there was only a 20-footer. I got photos of 44-gallon drums roped onto the front or roped near the container because no one would give you credit. No one. You couldn't book up a feed. You're allowed to book up a feed on the fuel bill, but you couldn't buy cartons of piss on it.
No.
And so he brought it back. His name was run into the ground, which we didn't like either because we had no one liked Dalziel, I don't think. And so Bundy bought it back. He went and got 14 superliners.
So you're back with Noel.
So
for you.
Yeah. So I can't remember the rigmarole, but we ended up back in Katherine, and I don't know who got the lime. But it didn't keep going with Dalziel anyway. That wasn't a very good episode, So I went, and they said, well, there's nothing here, boys. Peter Gunner said, go up and see Hobbsy. He was the cattle manager, the one up there. Mm-hmm. And I was the only one that went. I don't know, the other blokes were the other blokes were set up in Alice. They were family men, And so Muscles got a job with Timor Transport, a well-known company in the time, in those days. They went out bush with oil rigs and that.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to move to Katherine. I only had myself by then. And
didn't mind where you were.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, new girlfriend. It was wonderful. So we just moved into a caravan park, the Riverview Caravan Park, and I started on the cows.
You finally got to the cows.
Mate,
Took you a few years.
It was an R model. I don't know whether it had 2 sticks or 7. I didn't care. Only 2 single deckers. I wanted to drive a body truck with 2 singles, single dolly, and bogey trailer, I think.
Yep.
And then they said, "Oh, yeah, you can go into double-deckers now." But it was still, I don't know who got the body truck, probably another new driver. And I got a Kenworth with 2 double-deckers and a single on the back. And then I was mixing with blokes. Blokes I got to know, and they were absolute legends then. They started 20 years before me. Blokes like Jack Taylor and Tonesy and Reggie McGuinness and, just Peter Burns. They were just already done it for 10. They had 10 or 20 on me, really did.
There was a good camaraderie out on the highway back
Well, they'd never been on the Hume Highway. That's all they knew, driving cow trucks and walking around in bare feet and singlets. It wasn't like Ansets.
No, it
I
doesn't
think if you
sound like it.
well, I think you're overdressed.
Wouldn't have worked out here, mate.
No, if you were overdressed if you had a pair of thongs on.
Okay.
And it was absolutely magic. They all looked rough and tough. They had green shirts that might have had a pocket off, or a sleeve off it. And
Soul of the earth.
I fucking loved it. I loved it. And then they said, "Well, mate, she's not like the Lime. You haven't got another driver." I said, "That's all right. I got a spare driver in my pocket, And that was the way it was. And I only finished up last year.
Right.
So that was from whatever, about 82 or 83. And then I've just driven with all the previous, Bunine sold out to one of his drivers, Dickie David, who went on to become the biggest road train driver, the biggest road train operator in I don't know about Australia, but in the Territory.
Yep.
From being a tyre boy to a road boss, and then the owner. He
did well.
He's a wonderful bloke.
Well, he would have remembered his roots and where he came from and how he came up through the ranks, and you would hope that would give him some insight into a camaraderie with his drivers and an understanding of his drivers.
Well, he knew us all. He all knew us. Everyone knew us because we drove for Buntines.
Yes. Yeah.
There was only a few companies. There wasn't the big. There was NTFS. There was There was Co-ord.
Yep.
Big operator. But we were the only ones on cows. There was no competition. And then when Dickie bought it, he done a lot of repairs, got it looking good, bought 12 W models. No, it's 14. There's a photo somewhere, I've seen it, probably in big rigs, of 14 Kenworths in a line, and you can just see the 14th, but just 14 prime movers, all in Dickie David's colours.
Okay.
Bunnine's colours.
Yes, yeah.
But just as he started up again, I forgot to tell you, as he bought the 14 Superliners, he changed the name to, not Bunnine Roadways, to RTA.
Road Trains of Australia.
Yes, and I've heard the story, and I don't know, I'll have to ask Paddy, but we heard they called it RTA because it was the Road Traffic Authority, which is RTA, was giving him shit in Wyndham. And I'm pretty sure that was the way of getting back at them, and a wonderful name anyway.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you could put Road Trains on the front of your business name, it's nearly as good as Buntine.
Yes.
So he had Road Trains of Australia. And Dickie David, he just bought a heap of transport companies. I think he bought Bainey and Basket, Cloppers. Everything he touched turned to gold. Because Bainey was bringing the beer into Darwin. You can't go wrong, and
you
can't go wrong. And then he, in '93, Jim Cooper bought it. I mean, I don't know whether Dickie sold it. I don't know why, but he had so many companies. Anyway, and I know that Jim Cooper, I'd never met Jim Cooper.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
That old steam train over there,
Yeah?
would that have been the game at one time? The old
Yes, I
game?
think so.
The
Yes.
steam game?
Yes.
Thank you.
The steam one, yeah.
And now we've got a bit of a good-looking lady in.
Yes,
in,
we're
Big
just
Rigs.
having an interview here, but that's okay. No.
Just have to find
Yeah.
out if it was or
That's the one.
Yep.
And
We've got it all for you, folks, in Big Rigs.
yes. And anyway, so, and of course, Jim Cooper, he had tippers, always Gulf Transport. They were red and they were yellow and they looked good. Everything was always clean. They had yellow rims. Everything was always washed. Because we didn't get to see a tap very
I
often.
was going to say, not an easy feat out here.
No, but that's right. But we never got to see a tap much because they had a big base in Darwin and they drove to places like Tennant. I suppose they could wash them a bit, but But anyway, I think he wanted to buy it. Everyone wanted to own Bunines because of the loyalty of both them bosses to us. They both looked after you, and
Legends of the Outback.
they were.
And as a consequence,
So
whether they created it or the type of person that the business attracted, a lot of legendary drivers,
of course there is, and
of which you're one.
well, yeah, now, but I didn't. I just wanted to have a good time,
Oh, didn't you all?
mate. Some of them blokes at the start of the season with Bunine, Big John for one. He's passed on now, but when he used to come up every year in a panel van from Sydney or Brisbane, I think Sydney, he would take the passenger seat out, unbolt it in the W model, put it up in the loft, and put the biggest angle fridge you could get in there. And if he picked up a Sheila, well, she had to sit on the angle or get in the bed or get in the cave.
Either way, he was a winner.
Either day he was a winner because she either drank piss and sat in the bunk, or she drank piss and probably have to lift her ass every 10 minutes so Big John could have a drink.
I love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
I've actually saw some photos of him here at this reunion, and a bloke called Lindsay. I'm going to get him off him, like a reprint, because I don't think I've ever had a photo of Big John,
Okay.
And but either way, and he had a woman that used to travel with him too for a while. I think she was she was a Wyndham. She was a barmaid in the Wyndham Hotel. And yeah.
So you just retired last year, did you?
Yes, I retired in May when our house was sold. And
How old are you now, Lizard, if you don't mind me asking?
I'll be 69 on New Year's Day.
Righto.
Oh, same age as
So
me.
you've...
And we look good too.
We do.
Yeah, and so I can remember Big John one day, we both pulled up at Walk Up, which was the pub before you got to Dunmara. And we're both in there and we both went out and had the biggest clout. And I said, righto, we'll lay in the bunk till they start firing. We both woke up in the morning. We'd had a bigger sleep and wasted the gear. We just both went to bed. I thought, no, he'll wake me in an hour, I'll wake him. About 6 o'clock in the morning.
out for the count.
Yeah, I probably went to bed at midnight. And we should have been up the road. But they were the days that no one chipped you. No one chipped you. There was no tachographs because, they didn't need them.
Look, they had to take account of the climatic conditions, apart from anything else, the state of the road. And I'm
yes.
sure you've had plenty of times where you got stuck in the mud for
Of
for a
course.
period of time.
Of course. We've been stuck at stations for 5 days. We've been stuck at Wave Hill for 5 days. And the manager at the time, Gavin Hode, we just get 3 meals a day and all the piss we could drink. And I don't think he booked it up to RTA, he just did it.
Okay.
And then
Different sort of world.
only 4 years ago, we got bogged at Pigeonhole, which is an outstation of VRD, 4 days. Just treated like the family.
Yeah.
I think I booked up a couple of cars. I was the road boss in those days. So I booked, as soon as we got there, he said, what are you going to do? I said, well, can we book up a couple of cartons to Brookie? That was RTA manager. He said, yeah, of course. I said, he'll cover it. He don't care. So I think on the 5th day out of Pigeonhole, it had dried out. We had a camera crew with us. So they only came on the 5th day because they weren't interested in
Watching you blokes get pissed.
Exactly. They stayed at the Top Spring Hotel. Two Aussie photographers and their boss from America. And he wasn't interested in seeing us. He don't want to see us just bogged. Anyway, on the 5th day it dried out. It was the sun and the wind was on it, and we moved them. And there was only 6 of us. So they said, well, we'll come on the morning that you're loading. Anyway, that matter about them. But so we got out. I was first. Road bosses are supposed to travel last, but because I was first at the joint, I was first to go through and first to get loaded. And they just said, go, don't worry about helping the second bloke, just go. Well, that started at about 10 in the morning. 4 trucks. I got back to Tops, I come back through, they said, give it to her, and I couldn't get traction. I got traction, but about 1 kilometre up, there was real rocky stuff, and you could get through that. They'd just, up on top of a rise, I couldn't get traction, so a grader towed me. A grader towed me with a stiff bar on the grader. And then, when I thought I was right to go, I had a brand new bloke with me. He'd never seen a stiff bar, he'd never seen a wire rope. I'd already been stiff barred through the river, empty. I'd already been stiff barred through by another bloke, one coloured fellow we had there, and so he couldn't believe he seen a stiff bar. He said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, it's just we all have one, and we all got wire ropes, and we all got this and that."
Yeah.
He was wrapped anyway. When the grader got me out, he kept saying, "How's it going now, Lizard?" I said, "No, you're still pulling me. And he went a little bit further, and then he sort of slowed down, and I knew then that I was going. You could see yourself catching the tow rope, the stiff bar. So I said to Kurt, quick, mate, get that stiff bar." So he run out to get the stiff bar, and he started walking back to the 3rd trailer. I think that's where we had it. You should have had it on the lead, but we didn't.
Yeah.
We had it on a spare wheel carrier, the 3rd. And as he is, the grader, and then I got caught again. The grader's driver saying, "Fucking give it to her. Give it to her." So I'm giving it to her, and the new bloke is standing there with the stiff bar. He didn't try and sort of hurry. He thought, "Oh, Lizard will pull up in a minute." Well, they didn't get out till the next morning. And I had his clothes, his wallet, and I can remember seeing him in the mirror to this very day. He just chucked the stiff bar on the ground and thought, "Well, where the fuck are you going?" Well, I just kept going. I got out to the road about, I got back on the road at Camfield at about 9 o'clock that night and got to Top Springs. I said, "Can I have a feed?" They said, "We'll have a sandwich here for you." I got to there about midnight. Those other blokes, plus Kurt, with no clothes or nothing, didn't get out till the next afternoon. And the last bloke, he got back, which he had Kurt with him then because he said, "Well, you stay and help me." He got back to Darwin about 18 hours after me.
Okay.
So the old mate had had to lend him money. Yeah, don't worry about the clothes, but old mate had to lend him money. And he laughs about it now. He's back down south and he said, "Mate, I'm crying talking to you." He said, "I've got a wife now and a kid, so I can't come back." He was drunk. It was on New Year's Eve about 2 years ago. He said, "I'm drunk on black cans, mate, but these blokes don't know." I think he was with another company, another cattle company. He said, "These blokes don't know what goes on up there." And he said, and when they have a go at him, he says, "You're a bunch of fucking pussies," because he got a good job. He stayed for about 2 years. He's a good driver. He got a good truck. think it was a 904.
Nice.
A nice 904. But he never forgot that day. And I had his gear in his wallet. I thought he was going to thump me. I said, no, Brookie's got it, you know. But it didn't matter. He got shouted, you know, like the last driver, who was Tino, I think, another road boss. Another road boss fella. He just bought him a feed, you know, when I got the Catherine and all that stuff. And he said, mate, I thought you were going to pull up. I said, mate, the grader driver's telling me to go. I don't want him to hook up again. You've got the stiff bar. I just went.
Did what you had to do.
Well, you're not going to pull up and then say to the grader driver, come back and get me.
No, you're not.
But Kurt, yeah, we still talk, you know.
So you've had a life of no regrets?
Not one.
No, you've loved it, obviously.
Mate, not one.
Always been in your blood?
Yeah, I think it has.
Always
yes.
will be.
Yes.
Now, I can't let you go
No.
without asking you how you got the name Lizard.
You're allowed to say stuff
Yeah?
about how you get the dry mouth. You're allowed to say that.
Yeah, say whatever you like, mate.
Well,
we can always beep it if we have to.
well, the story going around, you know, when I talk to magazines, I've got to tell them that I get a dry mouth because when I've been going for about 3 days, the tongue hangs out. But the actual story is, when you have a clout, your tongue licks around. Now, when you start clicking, your tongue goes like this.
Yeah.
And a bloke said, Prickles, he said to me, he's still up there. He said, mate, you're like a fucking lizard. But in the magazine, you've usually got to put, mate, it's when I'm tired. In actual fact, it was, yeah, you have a couple of Duramine and a couple of shakers and... Yeah, exactly. And
that worked, mate.
that's it. Yeah.
As you said earlier, everybody did back then.
Oh, but you're not allowed even, they don't do it and they don't talk about it because they got fatigue management. And
You're out of it now. You can say whatever you like. I got plenty of old mates that
Yes.
I've spoken to,
Yeah.
and they all tell the same story, and it's the only way they got from A to B. It was just part and parcel of the job back
everyone knew,
then.
I think everyone knew that, you know, they used to portray us on the Hume as drug-crazed truckies. Well, you know, people used to ride in and back us up.
Yep.
Blokes like bloody Bob McMillan, you know. He would say, well, look, what would you rather have? Would you, you know, what do you want the truck driver to do? You know, chew a pill or chew a gum leaf, which means hitting a tree. And then I used to say to other people who would put us down, I'd say, well, mate, if you got a bloke on drugs coming towards you, it's better than a bloke nodding to sleep coming towards you.
That's the point.
And it is.
Yep.
It still is. But fatigue management has pushed that down the drain. But how many blokes go to sleep on the Hume Highway now?
Fatigue management is not working.
Logbooks.
Western Australia seems to have the best
In
plan.
Northern Territory, they got a plan, no logbook.
Yep.
But they're putting in parking bays, so we sort of think something's coming up. You know, like they're going to start. But there's no logbooks
Well, let's
yet.
hope they put in bloody flat ones
They do, but
instead of the rest of the
yeah.
country where I've seen them, mate, and they're like that, and they're like they're uphill.
And they got no
downhill.
shade.
And how do
They
you
got no
sleep on a
shade.
bed that's on a bloody angle?
You can't.
And as you say, no shade. Half of them haven't got dunnies.
No, that's right, and and you see places where there's a bit of toilet paper, and you go, those stinking truck drivers. Where else? What do you get?
Oh, well, it'd only be the truck driver.
Oh,
of course,
yeah, of course.
Wouldn't be a caravaner or anyone like
It
that.
wouldn't be a
No,
grey.
Of course not.
It wouldn't be a grey nomad.
No. Well, they got too much class for that, mate.
But look, when Jim Cooper bought us out, he streamlined the maintenance. It probably come at a time when the export was going crazy. The meatworks were closing. Export was the new thing. There's millions of Asians. You can't send the Asians meat out of a meatworks in a meat box, a frozen meat box, because most people in Asia and that haven't got a fridge. 98% of them have still not got a fridge.
Okay.
So if you send them boxed meat, it goes off unless they eat it in one hit.
Yep.
So when you send cows over, or steers or whatever, they They buy 3. When they unload, that bloke buys 3 and he takes them home and looks after them and fattens them up.
Yes. Yeah.
And he kills one. Or if he kills one, that goes to the wet market and someone buys a haunch or a,
Yep.
then they got to eat it that night.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And so they have beef and rice. Not rice, just rice. So the export this year is already on the way. Well, it was 300 and something last year. This year's going to be 700 and something.
It's huge.
So that's twice.
Yes. Yeah.
It's twice what we've ever done this year. Talking about now. So and anyway, I don't know whether Cooper could see it coming, but he bought the biggest bangers he could. C500s with 19-litre engines. No.
Big bangers.
No electronics, no harnesses, all that shit. And he was pedantic about servicing. He was just, mate, if your cassette played up, he'd say, we'll go and get another one, see the storm and quote your truck number. He supplied angle fridges. You had to buy your own everywhere else.
Okay.
Not a big angle, but a good angle.
Yep.
It went between the seats. He didn't want you moving the seat over and rubbing on the bloody passenger door, which some blokes used to do.
Mm-hmm.
So he had angles. But the only thing is he put in a thing that beeped when you went over 100. And I think he was pretty strict, but I don't think he actually spared anybody, because when we were all going along the Barclay talking to each other, all you could hear was beep, beep, beep. And I think
Clicking 8 to the bar.
Yeah, clicking 8 to the bar. So some blokes would put their beanie over it, but it
dull
didn't-
the sound.
it only muffled it a little bit.
Yes.
And I'd say, how's old Cooper's 100K policy going? They'd say, up the shit, and be going beep, beep, beep. Everyone had a beep. So he didn't sack anyone. He didn't sack anyone at all, although an old legend bloke, Tonesy, he saw what was going to happen, so he went to Hamptons. They'd just start. They had a couple of trucks. In fact, we used to call them Pantene haulage. We reckon it won't happen overnight, but it will happen. So,
Love it.
yeah. So, but Jim, I think he forgot the idea of the beeps. It probably only lasted 6 months.
Yeah.
And our ears were fucking killing us.
Fighting lost scores.
Mate, every single bloke. Beep, beep, beep. You copy 100 hours. Yeah, listen. Beep, beep, beep. You copy 100, there you go now. You slow down a bit. Beep, 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 beep. So it was just, we'd be rolling along laughing and thinking, well, if we get the spear, we've had a wonderful time doing it.
Yeah.
And we never got the spear. You never got the spear from Jim, because the loyalty was there. That man, he chopped off every ball race turntable. There was hundreds of them. We had oversized rollers to push the brakes out a bit to get more out of the linings.
Okay.
It's not illegal, but it's not the best practice. So he outlawed oversized rollers and bought 20-foot containers of brake drums, the right diameter. They hadn't been worn out.
Righto.
LED lights weren't out, but if they were out,
He would have been the first.
he would have had them.
Yes. Yeah.
And a mate of mine who pulled for Ridgeways, he saw us coming along one day, and he must have heard us because we all yacked. We all yacked on the UHF all night and all day on Channel 40. He said, Lizard, it was the night time. He said, Lizard, that gear, since Cooper, now that Cooper's got it, every side light's working, every clearance light's working, and it's magnificent. And
You couldn't have found better.
I worked for him for 13 years, and I'd never met him, but he said, I want you to buy a house in Darwin. And I want you to be a road boss up here for the export cattle. So I told my wife that Jim would like us to move, and he was paying my accommodation at the Berrima Hotel. He couldn't get any better. That was a truckies pub. It's now a fucking Harvey Norman. Anyway,
That's a shame, isn't it?
doesn't matter. Yeah, you could. If you were travelling into Darwin and you looked across at the Berrima, there'd have been about 18 prime movers there, all on the piss, but all sleeping in a room waiting for a load out.
Yeah.
And it become our official watering hole, mate. And it was already our official watering hole long before I got there. They had paintings of some of the drivers, like
Righto.
they had paintings of an R model Mac. And we had a bloke, a coloured bloke called Pissy Pepperell. Now there's people here today that have come to look at his head on the wall. He died in 91, but if you were around a table talking to old drivers, all they would ever talk about was Pissy Pepperell. He was allowed to write Pissy on the front of his cab over.
Okay.
Bunine didn't care. He said, look, if someone can paint that on, you have it, but no one else was allowed. Well, no one else was called Pissy.
No.
And I've got that photo somewhere, and...
So he was a legend's legend.
Oh, he was the Black Prince.
Yep. Okay.
He was the Black Prince. He's written up over there. I visited his grave yesterday, and his daughter had just dropped some flowers there.
Nice.
Yesterday.
Okay, so you worked. You obviously you enjoyed working under Jim Cooper. Then you found him an honourable sort of a bloke and a gentleman, and
In
looked
206.
after his trucks. You were saying.
Oh,
looked
best
after
ma-
his drivers.
Best maintenance ever. Took off all the ball races, did this and that, and it was the best man I've ever worked for. It was the hardest thing he'd ever made, but he just wanted to concentrate on mining and tippers. He could see that regulations were going to be tougher, so he sold out to Hamptons.
Right.
They now, I've worked for them for the last 5 years.
They changed the colours though, didn't they?
Well, that's a bit of a sore point with me. They kept the name, thank God, but they've changed the colours. As a green and white truck is replaced, it's replaced by, well, we call them the mountain parrots because they're yellow and blue. And but they've retained the name, which is still a big help because everyone knows what RTA stands for and who used to have it and who's had it and who's had it and who's got it now.
Yeah.
Well, the trucks are still the same, but yeah, I think the drivers are becoming more scarce. They're going to the mines.
Yeah, big
And
money over there.
they're just having trouble getting blokes that have done cattle. And I wish them well. I just hope that blokes will see that mining's real good. You get $3,000 a week, but you're away from your wife. You're on a fly-in, fly-out. And, they're still a good company. They're still called RDA, and RDA will be around for a long, long time.
Lizard, a life well led. Thank you, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Good to talk to you.
No worries. You want a coffee?